All right, let's see how we're doing. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Godson, am I banned? You are not. Welcome. Should you be banned? Hello, hello. Hi. Whoa, hi everyone. What's up? Good to see y'all. How's your Friday? You know, I was feeling pretty tired today, and I was between things on the schedule. So I found myself in the middle of the day here doing a little patch of sketching and life drawing. So I figured, why not go live? Sure. Oh, my pleasure. M.A. So what's up? Who's got questions? Because I'm probably not going to be drawing much that's interesting here. You know, today's one of those days where I gave it the old try, you know? I opened up the documents, I opened up the projects, opened up the files I'm supposed to be working on, and it didn't work out. And you know what? I've been at it long enough to know it doesn't matter. Some days you just don't have the energy, and that's just fine. Flatworm Friday. What on earth could that possibly mean? Apple asks, have you ever drawn a guy taking a, I'm just going to say dump since we're right at the beginning of this video here. Yeah, I have. Not from life though. Only from my vivid imagination. Stream is a bit laggy. I'm not surprised. It should probably balance out because my connection is quite good right now. So it's probably a YouTube side thing, and it'll just clear up any minute now. Ah, that's right. I forgot that this paper dries out my fountain pen super quick. We'll see what we switch to. If it jams the whole thing up. All right, let's see what's up. Alexandria says, I've been feeling a little off about art lately. Started to joggle with more things, and I'm feeling like inspiration is betraying me. Do you have any advice to set my mind back in one place? You know, I think it's pretty individual for everybody, but I think the number one thing is to not worry about it. You know, there's and that's more sophisticated and nuanced than it sounds, I think. It's very easy to, on the first day of that or early on when you're feeling a little run down or beat up, it's easy to let it go or to just sort of follow the flow and just let yourself kind of languish and float about. The trick is that once it's gone on for a few days, once it goes on for a longer period of time, it's really easy to get caught in a feedback loop where you can't help but beat up on yourself and be done with it and very quickly become sick of sickness, so to speak, and just start letting it get very self-referential and, well, why am I not getting better? Why is my motivation not coming back? Why do I feel so distracted? All of those things are things that can be addressed with adjustments to habits and a little bit of self-care, but none of that can be done if you're busy beating up on yourself. The beating up on yourself part and taking it personally part is completely unnecessary and only damages the process. So watch out for that. Just let yourself need a rest, right? And don't do it with an ulterior motive. Don't rest with like, oh, I'm going to rest so that I can work better later. No, screw it. Rest as if you would never work well again. Just actually rest. Truly rest. Go for it. Try it. Turns out that's a skill. That's a skill all its own. And most people actually find it almost impossible to just truly rest. You know, I had to learn how to rest. A lot of my friends, I like to spend a lot of time with people who are very high anxiety and are prone to quite a bit of neuroticism. And a lot of the people who I'm close to in my life have never rested a moment in their life, you know? So it is a skill. Grab one of my drawing pencils here. Hi everyone, hello. Are you drawing from reference? Yes, I am doing some life drawing from photos of models right now. Uh-oh, this has eraser bits on it. 1 second. Dan asks, will this stream be uploaded to YouTube later? Yeah, I don't take them down. I just let them sit up there. Do you have any advice on becoming more disciplined to do commissions? I feel extremely difficult to focus on them, and they end up taking too much time compared to personal drawings. If those are the problems that you're feeling with commissions, if you can't focus on them and you feel like the time investment is too much compared to personal drawings, my gut says that the problem there is that you're not charging enough. You need to be charging way more than whatever you're charging. And I can't give you a number, right? Because everyone's rates are individual and there's no real standards. But it sounds like there's not enough at stake for you. So I would advise, yeah, don't do those commissions. And if that's the highest rates then you can charge, then maybe you should just be doing your own thing, you know? I don't really know your situation, but just from the surface, it sounds like the rates are not high enough to keep your interest or to make you nervous enough to want to do a good job or to want to stick with it. And if that's the case, I mean, you would, if you really needed that small amount of money, you would care, right? And that it wouldn't be a problem. So I don't know. It sounds like you probably just shouldn't be doing those commissions. Maybe you should be waiting until you can get more expensive work. You know, as an artist, you definitely want to charge enough that it's gonna light a fire under your ass, and you're gonna be a little freaked out and want to get the job done as quickly and efficiently and well as possible. There needs to be some stakes. Art is not to be done lightly, that's for sure. Well, it is, you know, that's the whole point of my channel, for example. But I mean, to do it cheap and without caring, that's really hard. Art is really difficult to do. And it's very difficult to do well, so. It resists being distributed cheaply. It's gesture drawing? It sure is, even though I don't think in terms of gesture drawing or constructive drawing or anything like that. I just draw. Some people think a gesture drawing is a gesture drawing if you're in a particular mindset. Other people think a gesture drawing is a gesture drawing if you do it in a particular time frame. Other people think a gesture drawing is a gesture drawing if it looks a certain way. And I would argue that none of that stuff is true. Do you have a smog style hoard of reference photos, or do you use an online thing? I don't know if it's smog like. It's maybe Ebenezer Scrooge like, but I do have a bunch of reference photos saved, yes. But I do also use online things. I've done, if you've ever seen the Vimeo channel Croquis Cafe, I've done a ton of their videos over the years. You should put the reference you're using on stream if possible so we can draw along. I cannot. I'm sorry. Maybe someday. Two problems with that for YouTube. One is that, well, you know, it's nude. And the other one is that right now, at least, I'm drawing from reference photos that I paid for in a pack. So I obviously cannot redistribute those. That would be very illegal. I appreciate to you, man. Thank you so much, and hello from Turkey. Well, sending many blessings to Turkey. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate your greetings. I feel you when you talk about neuroticism and obsessive people. Sometimes a smallest mistake when you're doing some reference makes us feel like shit and like we haven't accomplished anything. Yup, artists are like that, and it's not useful. And that's why this channel exists. The obsessive perfectionism of artists is not good, not useful. It's useful, well, I should be more specific. It's useful to maybe 1% of artists. And the odds that you are in that 1% are, I guess, 1%, right? So not great. All right, let's see. Now I'll take a brief break from drawing my life drawing photos here to just sketch, maybe answer some questions. All right. Is art as a career actually viable in the short term? At that stage where I need to decide on drawing or working full time? In the short term, I really can't answer that in terms of you as an individual. Do you mean like, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years and now can I pull it off in the next 5 years? In which case I would say probably, you know, that sounds relatively realistic. But in the short term, like for anyone who started off new, who hasn't been pursuing it for several years, no, I would say it's not realistic. You can get lucky. It being unrealistic doesn't mean it's not possible. There's always going to be some percentage of people who can pull down a career rather quickly, but those people are not, they're not the norm, and they're not the exceptions to what generally happens are really not who you should be basing your plans on. It is not realistic in the short term. Not a real career. Maybe a gig, you know, you could get a couple gigs, you could do some commissions and stuff like that, but a career in art, short term, absolutely not. Everyone who's competing for those jobs and career opportunities that you want as an artist are, you know, as I've said in a couple of my videos, they're freaks, you know, they're not in the sense that they're not nice, cool people, but they're people who have been thinking and doing nothing but art for 20, 30, 40 years. So no, it's not realistic in the short term. You have to be able to compete with those people and get attention above those people and be alluring to art directors and things like that above those people. Drawing is fun? Hell yeah, it is. Drawing is fun enough that it's just about everything. It's so fun that it justifies all of the pitfalls, all of the emotional pain, all of the slippery slopes. It justifies everything because it is so unbelievably addictively fun. see. What's going on here? Should you want to use your real name when wanting to draw for a living? I'm scared that I would lose privacy when starting, but I don't know if fake name would be a good thing. Sorry if this is a bit much. No, fake names are pretty common in the art world, especially for people who have very common names. So I don't know if you want to use a fake name because you're, I don't know, maybe you're a little ashamed of the content that you want to put out there or something like that, which that sounds like maybe a mental arc that you need to go through and will probably require you to reckon with some things in your life. But yeah, I don't know if it's because of shame or if you have like one of the most common names in the world, like John Smith or something like that, and there's about 1 billion people out there online who have your exact same name. But yeah, feel free to use a fake name. Lots of people do it. Lots of people with common names do it so that they stand out. Thank you, the ABCD3912. Thank you. Serotonin obtained. Nice, nice. Hello, greetings. Prior to going professional, were there any mental roadblocks that held you back? Any wisdom you wish you could give your younger self? Yeah, no, I had tons of mental roadblocks. I mean, you know, I make the content on this channel that I do because I went through everything that I try to address. And yeah, if you ask me, is there any stuff you wish you could have told your younger self? I would just give my younger self every video on my channel. You know, like I would just feed them every drawing companion. My channel is very specifically the things I wished I had known at the start, because the videos are me, the videos on this channel are me addressing drawing mindset issues that in my analysis I believe actually are unnecessary, right? Jealousy, competitiveness, dark anger, a seething, vigorous desire to be the best or to improve one's skills up against objective, imagined milestones, all of those things. They can be useful, but in my opinion, the the majority of people, they're useful for a minority of people. For most people, they're out of balance. And there's better things to be motivated by that would provide all of those same benefits. It's just that our current culture is not really inclined to promote or discuss those other motivations very often. Our society right now is much more comfortable with someone wanting to do a lot of work and put their heart and soul into something for the motivators of status, success, positions, money. There's much more acceptance in the culture that that's why you would want to do something. And even if you don't consciously ever say that to yourself, culture subtly pushes it on you. And on the other hand, if you were to say that you were motivated by a compassionate desire to express primordial creativity to other human beings who absorb it subconsciously, that's something you could say at a party that will make people never want to talk to you again. So our culture really shies away and cringes away from things like that, and makes sure basically that no artist is comfortable basing their practice on that. And I think that that is to our detriment. I think that, in my opinion, that's why artists comically suffer from all the same mental problems as all other artists. You know, it's because we're reacting in the same way to all of the same conditions. And yeah, I think upon inspection, it would actually be laughably easy to allow for a broader scope of motivating factors for most artists if we just all backed up a little bit and stopped being so judgmental about the things that make us cringe, and opened our hearts a little bit to the variety of reasons that you might want to make art, you know? You had me at primordial. Yeah. Thank you for the love from Maryland. I appreciate it. Drawing is a drug you got addicted to without realizing it. Beautiful. Love to hear it. I often find myself thinking like, you know what? I just work for drawing. You know, drawing's the boss, and I work for drawing. So hearing about people getting addicted to drawing and things like that is extremely pleasing for me. Art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Banksy. Leave it to Banksy. But who knows? Knowing Banksy, he might have appropriated that quote from someone else and passed it off as his own as a meta art statement. So Anton says, I wish that inspiration never leaves you. Oh, that's kind. You know, inspiration finds a way. It finds a way to sneak in always. My art demon will stay with me for as long as it wants. Someday it might leave. I hope I have the wisdom and the courage on that day to let it go without a fight. I'm often painfully aware of the tangled relationship I have myself in with drawing. I'm always at risk of having my identity too tied up with it. It's very difficult. It's hard to avoid because the things that I experience through drawing and because of drawing are so intense, you know, peak experiences in many ways. And it takes no small amount of mindfulness and self-awareness to keep that in balance and not let that dominate my idea of my self-worth and my value to others, etc., etc., etc. And of course, the longer you draw, the more you're capable of, the more peak experiences are available to you and happen, and so that challenge only increases. It only becomes stronger and stronger. How do you know if you have fun doing art? I've been questioning if I just like the thought of doing art. There's a cruel answer to that, which is if you have to ask, right? If you have to ask, then you're probably not having fun. But it is a more sophisticated issue than that, because the truth is some artists don't enjoy the process, but the satisfaction of a piece being done is so intense and so enjoyable for them that it justifies loathing the process. And I have to admit that that is a perfectly valid art practice, you know? So if you're that kind of artist, I wouldn't worry about it. Just put your energy on going for the finish that gives you all that satisfaction, and don't worry about it too much. But if neither brings you joy, if you don't like the process and you don't draw intense satisfaction from the things that you finish, is it possible that you just want an excuse to stay inside and away from other people because you're high on the spectrum of introversion, and getting good at drawing happens to be a socially conditioned way to excuse yourself to spend that much time on your own, while feeling like you're moving towards something and being productive, you know? That could absolutely happen. It has happened to a bunch of people. And if that's the case, yeah, probably drawing is going to be extremely painful. And there's other ways you could be closing off from the world, you know? That would probably be healthier. I am on a Zoom art class during this live stream. Incredible. Incredible. What a world we live in. Love it. You know, I brought up that thing about using art as an excuse to close yourself off because I did that. I'm not throwing that out there as an attack out of nowhere. I'm familiar with that because that was something that I did for a very long time. I still do that, you know. When I was really in that drilling phase, which was not at all a requirement, I relished the ability to just be like, no, I can't go to that party. I'm sorry, I can't hang out with you because I need to practice my drawing. And if you can't accept that, well, I'm afraid you just don't get it. And haven't you ever heard a motivational speaker in your life? Like, you got to work your ass off. And this is the only way I'm going to make a life for myself. It's like, maybe. AW asks, how do you feel about drugs and artists? Drugs are inherently bad, and the industry has been especially pervasive in the last few years, but is there any room in your eyes for altered mental states? In the most general sense, if you're asking me, do I think there's any room for altered mental states? Absolutely. But I mean, in many senses, everything is an altered state of consciousness, right? Like, if you're feeling especially connected with a best friend while you're sitting around the campfire, that is an altered state of consciousness. That doesn't feel the same way as the sort of dreary Monday morning psychology that most of us spend the vast majority of our hours in, right? So everything is an altered state of consciousness. Everything that we do alters our consciousness, alters the complete picture and constellation of our emotions and feelings and self-references and references to others. Everything affects all of that. And the depth of all of those influences is completely inaccessible to any given human being. You know, we are very deeper than we know or can ever know in many senses. So I find it a little silly to draw an arbitrary line between what is an altered state of consciousness worth recognizing and what is an altered state of consciousness that is not worth recognizing. I find drawing those arbitrary distinctions a little silly. But obviously for every individual, you've got to search out like what really works for you, and are you being wise about that, right? Everyone's going to have their rituals, you know, everyone's going to have a state that they prefer to work in, a mood that they prefer to work in, a time that they prefer to work in. Everybody's going to have different things like that. It's almost impossible to avoid some sort of ritualizing of something that you're going to do for this many hours. So you need to look at whatever your ritual may be. You need to look at, well, how did I arrive at this? Did I arrive at this out of compulsion, fear, what others have told me to do, what I worry others will think about me, or anything like that? You have to investigate, is that why you made the decisions for the habits that you have? Or did you really choose them? And did you choose them wisely? And are you balanced in some sense? Are you in control? Because there's nothing morally wrong about any way that you might choose to do your work, unless you're like painting with the blood of people that you killed or something like that. I think there's probably some edge cases there where it's pretty clear there's something morally objectionable here. But in the way that most people make their work, there's no moral valence to your choices. The problem is that let's say you find yourself only drawing when you're drunk, right? Maybe you do wilder drawings because your inhibitions are down. Maybe the slurring of your motor control actually gives you a line work that you enjoy, right? Let's say everything that it does for your drawing is good. And let's say that there's no moralizing people over your shoulder who are saying like, oh, I just find drinking objectionable, you shouldn't be doing that, and all of that. Let's table all of that. Let's say just you have found yourself only wanting to draw when you're drunk, and you like the effects that it has on the drawings. Do you want to gate your opportunities to draw to something that you do to your body, right? Do you want to find yourself hungover after a drawing session every time? Do you want to need to have all of this prep leading up to it where you get drunk? Are you okay with needing to like go to the liquor store before you sit down to do a drawing? I'm just picking like the most common drug out there, alcohol, to use as an example. It's like you could, right? And it's totally viable. And if the work comes out fine, it's no big deal. But it sounds like you're really putting yourself through something unnecessary if you do that a lot of the time. So I think it would be a little difficult to maintain a sustainable art practice if you put sort of very strong rails like that on it. And I do mean sustainable, right? Because, on a one-off, or even just doing something with some regularity, but it's not constantly. It's like, you know, who cares? But the question is, when it really becomes ingrained with the thing, what are you going to do? Do you create sculptures sometimes, plastiline clay? I have. Not a ton, only a few times. There are squares on this piece of paper. Forget why. Oh yes, I remember why. For a demo. I'm just gonna draw over them. That's all right. Let's go back to our people here. What pen are you using? This is the Pilot Lucina fine tip. Lucina is Lucina, I believe. So it's worth it then? Are you talking about the drawing while drinking thing? Well, it depends on the volume. I mean, I could never, the amount of drawing that I do, I could never, there'd be no realistic way for it to get tied up with substances, you know? It's like I could not spend 6 to 10 hours a day drunk so that I could draw. That wouldn't work out. It would not be worth it for me. But I'm not here to tell anybody else how to live their lives. I don't think there's anything moralizing, though, about saying, hey, what are your motivations? You know, like what is motivating you to, what is conditioning you to do your practice in this way? Because I think that's always a valid question to ask, because the conditions that control our practice are more often insidious and subtle than they are chosen and understood consciously. What is your favorite subject matter to draw? Form, in the most general sense. I don't like graphic shapes very much. I have a lot of trouble just finishing linear work. My favorite thing to draw is form. And if I can find an interesting form gateway into a drawing, then I'll basically draw anything once I have a bit of form access to it. It could be abstract, it could be figurative, it could be environmental. All right, how long do I realistically have? I probably can't be on any longer than like another 25 minutes or something like that. So I'm gonna try to answer as many people's questions as I can in that time. So if you got questions, throw them, slap them in the chat, ask those questions. I'll only pretend to draw. Do you ever draw cute things? I draw cute things for work all the time. That's probably one of the big reasons that I draw really unappealing stuff most of the time, because a lot of the times when I get hired by clients, you know, there's more work out there for stuff that's appealing than for stuff that's scary or unappealing. So yeah, most of my client work is for stuff that's supposed to look cute or inviting or things like that. And I spend a lot of time doing that. So when I do my own stuff, I feel like I'm much more inclined to be like, screw everybody. Let's do something that makes people want to go away. Again, the conditioning factors of our practice are very insidious. So monitor what you're doing. Everything is okay to do. Everything is okay to do in art. The question is, are you okay with why you're doing that thing? You know? Why do you draw? Drawing is a spiritual practice for me. It has instigated spiritual insights that changed my life and is a regular source of well-being, happiness, comfort, and peace for me. So that's why I draw. And for money. Did you ever do any engravings like woodcut or intaglio? I know you're a fan of Gustave Doré. I have never done them for real. No, if you've seen my Paradise Loft stuff, I've definitely tried to imitate the look digitally before, but beyond a little bit of work, just with scratchboard, just messing around. No, I've never done a real woodcut or anything like that. I actually doubt I would have the patience, because it looks like it takes even longer than pencil drawing. And man, it's like I'm already a pencil drawing can take me, between 40 and 100 hours. So am I really willing to pump that up more and carve it in wood? I'm not sure. Should I count watching 2 hours of lecture of anatomy and making notes as a work, or start counting hours when I start drawing? Who gives a fuck about the hours? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about counting. Like, one person's 1 hour is the equivalent of another person's 8 hours. There's no, I only talk about hours when I talk about how long it takes me to do stuff, and I will never force hours on anyone else, because it's just asinine. It doesn't make any sense. You really know nothing about the other person, and people's scales are completely different. So if I were you, I would just work on a clock so that you can personally see how long it takes you to do things, but don't compare yourself to anyone else or put hard stops on how long it takes to do things. When it comes to studying anatomy, my number one advice is don't waste all your time drilling, and reviewing the books and reviewing the objective materials. I would spend however much time you spend on that in a day. If you're going to do that for 2 hours in a day, spend 1 hour reviewing the materials, and then spend another hour drawing out of your head, drawing for fun. That's what will integrate it. Draw the topic that you just covered. If you were reviewing the anatomy of the leg, draw a bunch of legs out of your head, and then draw the full figure so that it's integrated with everything else that you're learning about anatomy. If you need a reminder of the importance of this, think of there's lots of doctors who have had to learn anatomy medically super accurately, and when they pick up drawing, they have no traction on it. They still need to, there is an intimate link to the motor control part that they have skipped. So don't get caught up in that trap. Easier said than done, I know, but it is for most people, it's the best way to work. Hey Sam, good to see you in here. Glad it's timely. Do you think it's better to focus on realistic art before stylization? No, I don't. Again, it's individual. If you, because there's a million ways to stylize, right? What are you stylizing? Are you stylizing color, shapes, gestures, structure, expressions? You can stylize anything, right? So there's certain ways you might want to stylize, where the best way to get the grounding on that would be by pursuing it realistically first, right? So let's say you wanted to stylize form, right? Form rendering. Yeah, if that's what you want to stylize, it's probably impossible to get a grip on that without looking at the way form presents in reality, the way light affects shapes in reality. Other aspects, no. You know, color, probably. I would say no. You don't really need to understand color in the real world to do beautiful stylized color, because color is always subjective, right? So it depends on what you're stylizing. But more important than doing some sort of side parallel practice that you're hoping will feed back into the real work that you want to do, just do the real work. Just do the real stuff that you want to do, because you're probably lying to yourself. You probably are just using that as an excuse to not do the scary thing that you wish you were doing. Probably. Some people are super wise and super dedicated and super disciplined, and when they go down those side tracks, they're actually doing it to mine specific skills that they then happily, greedily, enthusiastically bring into the real work that they want to do. But that's almost no artists. Most artists are not like that. Most artists are horrified and scared all the time, so you're probably just procrastinating by doing that. Again, I'm generalizing because I don't know who the hell you are. Let's see. Thank you, Arthur Malmy. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you like the content. Draw, Antonio, draw and don't waste time. That's right. The only art advice anybody ever needs. Will you do 3-hour plus real-time drawing videos? Yeah, I'm sure. So somewhere down the line. They're not necessarily hard to do. It's just they do take a really long time to export. That's the main problem. They take a really long time to export those videos on my computer. The 2-hour real-time drawing one was like 6 hours of my computer rendering that while I was trying to do other things. It's like every time you use your graphics card, you know, it takes a hit, it like triples the time, and then when you're doing nothing, it goes back up. There's a lot going on there. Happy to give some advice, Kunal. Steven, have you done a lot of curvilinear fisheye drawings? I don't get how some artists convert what's in front of them into this beautiful fisheye perspective, which seems impossible to me. Not a lot. I've done a few, but it is a conceit, right? I mean, we do see like that in actuality. You know, when you're looking out of your two eyes, you are always kind of constructing a curvilinear perspective, but not really, though, because everything that's in the curvilinear part is so peripheral that you can't really be looking at it, right? It's blurry and indescript. But it's actually, if you're interested in doing it, just keep working in perspective, because it's actually not that hard. You know, you just need to be willing to bend the things in your drawing. You just have to be willing to torture them and twist them. The resistance that a lot of people have to drawing that way is just that they're scared to draw a rectangle like that, right? Because it just feels so unnatural to curve the lines of a rectangle. But that's it. Fireworks. You drew in curvilinear perspective. You do that all over the drawing, it's going to work out. You just need to get over the resistance of making things look distinctly not like the way we ever see them. Actually, interestingly enough, no, I mean, you are seeing them that way. It's just that your brain is correcting all of the angles in post-processing. I might stream again tonight. Might have my wife sit next to me here and draw into the evening. But I will have to jump off of here before that. I gotta go do some stuff. But yeah, maybe I will come back tonight. We'll see about that. Let's see. Do you listen to music when you paint? Does it help you tune in? Yeah, when I'm into music. I fall off of music for like a few weeks and I'll only do audiobooks, then I'll get bored of audiobooks and then I'll go back to music, then I'll get bored of both and I'll only do podcasts. It just comes in waves. I also spend a good amount of time drawing in silence, you know. Most of the time I use music to keep me awake on gigs that are not the most exciting, or I just need to stay awake. It's just a good way to keep your energy level up. Because drawings take a really long time to do, in case you haven't noticed. Let's see here. Do you like art class in high school? For some reason, I can't stand the way it's taught. I don't really remember much from my high school art classes. I only remember a couple specific exercises, but my teachers were nice enough. I actually enjoyed my art history class and remember my art history class more than any of my art studio classes, you know? You're not really disciplined enough or thoughtful enough in high school to be doing sort of crazy art in the few hours that you work on it a week in a art studio class, in a high school studio class. But art history, that's always interesting whenever you learn it. That's what stands out to me the most. I also had 2 units on it because I went to a Catholic high school, so I had a sort of traditional art history course, and then I also had a religious art history course. And that has stayed with me for a very long time. That was very influential on me. How do you reinvigorate your love for drawing? I don't worry about that. I find that if I don't feel like drawing, it's because I'm lacking vigor for my life, usually, you know. I'm just sort of trimmed down, feeling closed off, feeling like I'm not connecting with people, just my life in general, things like that. That's always what it is. You know, it just can take a long time to admit to yourself that that's what's going on. It's much more comforting to be like, oh, I'm out of love with drawing. Oh, I have art block. I have no motivation. It's like, yeah, that's way easier to say than being like, the world is so full of gorgeous consciousness and incredible occurrences, and it is a smorgasbord of the most awe-inspiring, tripped-out things imaginable with no modification. And here I am being miserable. You know, that's actually a much harder thing to admit to yourself. So whenever I just feel like I'm not feeling it on drawing, you know, I'm not really fooled anymore. I know it's something deeper than that, and I go address that. A walk in the woods usually does good. What do you mean by you ate drawings like peanut butter? Was it some gesture or quick drawing, studies, or long hours of work on a single piece of art? It wasn't that I ate them like peanut butter. I ate them like peanut butter M&Ms. To eat drawings like peanut butter would not have worked, because when you put a spoonful of peanut butter in your mouth, you sit there, you grind through it. Peanut M&Ms, like, you can't stop. You just compulsively keep popping more. But the trick is that I did everything. That's what I meant when I said I ate drawings like peanut M&Ms. I did short drawings, medium drawings, long drawings, drawings for myself, drawings for friends, drawings for clients, huge projects that were made up of hundreds of drawings, individual things. I did everything. And you're referencing the ending of my What It Takes to Be a Professional Artist talk. That's what it takes. And that's why I say people who wind up in professional art are freaks. They're freaks. They usually they don't do one thing to get where they are. And you know, false humility aside, like, yeah, I'm a professional artist, and, you know, it took me a long time to admit it to myself, but I'm a freak too, right? Like, I don't really get tired of drawing. You know, I'll draw 12 hours a day. I like studying, you know, just doing abstract exercises like this. There were periods in my life where, just like this, life drawings, I would do 200 of these in a day. I would do life drawings for 12 hours straight. And then I'd just crack my back and be like, what a beautiful day. And I feel full of energy. You know, that's freakish. That's not everybody. That's not, you know, that's just not everybody's temperament, right? And it's not discipline or hard work on my part, right? I never pulled myself up on my own bootstraps to do that. It's just my temperament. It's just my temperament. But it is unusual, you know, and then when I had like really stressful studio jobs, I would do those jobs for 9 hours a day doing basically art magic tricks, right? Things way too fast, meetings with clients where I was drawing for them live in front of them. And I'd do that for 9 hours a day. Anyone else would have been exhausted. And then I'd just go home and it was like as if it never happened. And I would just keep drawing. I would just keep drawing my own things. And I would sketch and study and do paintings, and everything in every possible combination, everything all the time. So I don't think you have to do that. I don't think anyone has to do that. But when I say I ate drawings like peanut butter M&Ms, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Let's see here. Do you ever take a mental break / take time just to think? All the time. I spend more time thinking than I do drawing. I find the more time I spend drawing, the more I can enjoy drawing. Yep. Oh, just to think about drawing rather than drawing. Yeah. I if something's really sort of stumping me, I will literally sit and just like imagine it. I will force myself to imagine it and try to see it vividly in my mind. But I don't always do that. A lot of the times things just flow enough that I don't really need to take a conscious step to like visualize it or anything like that. That makes so much sense now. Glad to hear it. Darnell asks, any meditation practices? Yeah, I started with Zen, pretty traditional Zen, koan work early on. No teacher. I was just like using the books and reading stuff online. And then moved from Zen to more traditional Vipassana. Hello, Stephen. I have a question. I tried to draw faces very well, but all the times I get in a mistake. How can I get better to draw better? Check out Steve Houston's free course on YouTube called Drawing the Head. If you search Drawing the Head and Steve Houston's name, I think Houston is, someone will put it in the chat for you, but Steve Houston's free, he's got like a 3-hour free YouTube video on how to draw the head. I would check in on that stuff first. Those base considerations he lays out are where most people's problems are. Do you think lack of sleep can cause you to not even make a simple circle? Yeah, you should sleep. Definitely sleep. Can't wait to go to college. Most of my friends aren't artists. Well, I'm glad you can't wait to go to college. If there's anything to talent in art, you just described it perfectly, even though it's all work. Yeah, I would agree with that, Domo. I wish I could draw all the time, but my hands start to hurt. Regret spending so much time on the keyboard. Don't force it. You got to take care of your hands. Do not hurt your hands. I'm going to hop off here in 4 minutes. I have a 5 p.m. hard out, so I got to go. So I'm just going to try to wrap up questions real quick before I go. Let me see if I can shove some of the stuff that I drew on this stream up on here. What did we do? We did a couple life drawings. We sketched from imagination for a little bit. We did a little bit of pencil gesture drawing. I just hadn't really drawn today, and I just needed to do something. Not a day without a line. Let's see what we can say before we wrap up. Where does it come from, the energy? There's no explaining that, you know? Do you do it or does it do you? You know, how much control do you have over your life? Are you living your life or are you being lived? You know, there's no real way to answer that. Found Marco Bucci's painting planes of the head really useful. Yeah, that sounds like a good tip. I feel like I'm eating drawings like Oreos right now. That's funny. Hey, David, what's up? I'm about to hop off of here, so sorry that I'm disappearing. How do I make my portfolio stand out if I want to study illustration? You must make it as personal as possible. Think of your top 5 favorite artists. They probably all do completely different looking work, right? And probably their work doesn't look a lot like anybody else's work. You gotta find something that you don't know it yet, but you love something totally unique and weird. You just need to hunt for the thing that you actually love. How do you manage the frustration of an unsuccessful drawing? At a certain point, it's like, why manage it? You know, you can also just accept the emotion, not feel the need to manage the frustration. And ironically enough, that sort of dissipates the frustration in a few seconds. Just accept, just accept. Do you create stories? I started to draw because I like to create characters and worlds, but lately I've been focusing more on studying art, and it seems that my love for creating history is weakening. Yeah, I do create stories. I've done quite a bit of writing, but don't give up. Don't let it get out of balance. Keep your love for storytelling. Worm sketch is very important. It sure is. What if I feel like I could never be able to draw for such long periods of time? Don't worry about it. Find another angle, you know, find another angle. It's unrealistic to be like, you're going to match the virtuosity of someone like a James Jean without drawing a laughable amount, right? It's not going to happen. You know, James Jean earned that by drawing more than anyone else. It's going to be very hard to overcome that. But virtuosity is a brand. It's just a brand. It's just another brand, right? Kim Jung-gi being known for being, oh, no sketch, straight to inks, everything looks perfect. That's just a brand. That's just another brand. Being the best, being the most technically skilled is just a brand. People don't think about it that way, but of course that's all it is. There's tons of successful artists who can't do that stuff, so just look for a different brand. And with that, I have to go. So thank you everyone for being here. It was a pleasure, and I'm just gonna say goodbye now. I apologize for my hard out here at 5 o'clock, but I do appreciate everybody being here, and I will see you all again soon. I might even drop in again tonight and stream a little bit later in the evening. Bye-bye, everybody.